Imagine transforming your business from best kept secret to industry icon, all while building a seven figure income in just 2 years. Today's guest is a powerhouse behind this exact journey for countless entrepreneurs, coaches, and consultants. With a dynamic background in media and a deep understanding of high ticket program creation, she has propelled clients to achieve consistent income and impact, closing over $3 million in client sales since 2023. Today, we have a truly inspiring guest, Cheryl Plouffe, co founder of Icon Maker. After 2 decades on Canadian television, she now harnesses the power of podcasting to help others unlock exceptional growth. Welcome to another episode of our Founders Podcast. I'm your host, Ash, and this is a show where I interview proven founders and industry experts who share their stories, strategies, and insights to help you build, launch, and grow your business. I hope you enjoy the show. Shell, welcome to the show.
Hi, Ash. So great to be with you today. Looking forward to this conversation. This is something I'm very, very passionate of.
Great, great. Do you have a favorite quote, something that inspires or motivates you that you would like to share with our audience?
I do. I do. This is a quote that we often share in our monthly workshops, and it's from Jay Abraham. And he says, if you have a product that delivers value, you have a moral obligation to reach as many people as you can. And I
Mhm.
think that is very appropriate for certainly the people that we work with who are coaches and consultants who have something of value. It's just bottled up inside of them. And what we do at Icon Maker is to turn them into icons and to be able to take that and turn it into something tangible that allows them to have more life and more profit along the way.
Interesting, interesting. I like the word the obligation because, my grandmother used to say that if you have two breads, you have an obligation to look if somebody's hungry around you and share a part of it. So I remember that, to uh, align with it. Great. So tell us about Cheryl. What is she do? Who is she? And what's the main problem she's trying to solve?
Let me start with the who is she? I
Yeah,
wonder if that's still a project that's underway. Aren't we all still trying to figure out who we are and what our
definitely.
purpose on this planet really is? But uh, really, my story started when I was 18. I was tapped on the shoulder at 18 years old to start hosting a news magazine, a television news magazine program where I lived. And that really sparked in me this desire to want to work in television. And
Mhm,
so, to fast forward the story, I mean, I made it to national television here in Canada before the age of 30. And then I
mhm,
worked in that sphere for 17 years at Pelmrex Media, which owns the Weather Network, and Meteo Media. And then I
mhm,
worked a variety of different roles there, mostly on camera. And even for several years, I was a news manager. So I managed a team of 17 people across Canada who were
mhm,
responsible to put together stories and content, editorial content for the network. And so
mhm,
I was managing that team. And so I've had a variety of different experiences in media. What I came to discover in 2017 when I left that profession to start my own company was that there were a lot of parallels between working for a big organization such as Pelmerex to what I do today. I realized that I was actually marketing. I
mhm,
just didn't know that that's what I was doing. And so now really it's parlayed into this place where I've leveraged a lot of the experiences that I've had in media and on camera and podcasting and speaking and interviewing people along with
mhm,
the business aspect of it. So what I
mhm,
do today is help coaches, consultants, and entrepreneurs to become icons in their niche, to be able to build a sustainable seven-figure business through their wisdom
mhm.
and knowledge. And we do that by helping them build high trust relationships, strategic alliances, and we use podcasting to do that.
Perfect. Great stuff. And then what kind of ICP we are talking about here? So anybody who is trying to get out of their 9 to 5 rat race and want to become sort of like a founder, or is it someone who is already in this space? They are running their company for like few years. They have maybe a seed funding sorted, maybe have a couple of people working for them, or somebody who has already like jumped that threshold towards around, I don't know, around half a million of revenue a year, something like that?
Yeah.
What sort of space your ICP lies in?
Yeah. So our we don't call it ICP, we call it right fit client. But same
Cool.
idea, right? Who is that person? So, and
Hmm.
who that person is somebody who is already uh, deems themselves to be a coach, whether or not they
Hmm.
have charged for that work or not. But their coach, they're a coach or a consultant. They've already have taken that step to become an online entrepreneur. They're somebody who is typically still under that six-figure annual revenue mark. We have a few people that are over it, but I would say largely people who haven't hit that milestone yet and who are
Hmm.
frustrated. Ash, they're frustrated because they're following what all the gurus online are telling them to do. They're following the ascension model. They're creating those complicated funnels. They're doing the tripwires and this and that and the other, and they're not getting any traction. Most
Mm.
of the people that we're working with are doing low ticket, and that's part of the problem, right? So
Mm.
we're helping people to break free from that and really be able to package their wisdom and knowledge into a viable, high margin, and profitable program that is actually going to help people get results. That's really the premise of what we do. I mean, in fact, we go so far as to link our payments to results. That's how much we
Mm.
believe in it. So our ICP, as you put it, is a coach, consultant, entrepreneur. They might be an author or speaker, someone who's an expert at something, and we can take that expertise and put it into our model so that they can really build a sustainable business.
Awesome. And I would like to talk more about the model later on. But
Yeah.
before we jump into that part of the journey, let's talk about where the story began. Where did the idea for helping coaches and consultants come from? And when you had this epiphany, did you look into the market? Were there, other services around that? What was going on that time? And what did you see from your research that encouraged you to move ahead with this idea?
Well, let me start by prefacing the fact that Icon Maker is a joint venture. There are three of us business owners who came together to join forces. Each of
Hmm.
us individually have been serving coaches and consultants in this space for some time individually. When
Hmm.
we came together, it was because we saw a path for people to truly build something sustainable and profitable for themselves under the
Hmm.
premise of using podcasting to do it, because we all saw the metrics of podcasting, especially since COVID, were going up.
Hmm.
And so social audio, as we saw with Clubhouse, right? The valuation of Clubhouse during the pandemic went from like, I don't know where it started, but it went to 4 billion in a matter of months because people were gravitating towards social audio as a way of being able to sustain themselves professionally and also personally, I believe. So
Hmm.
after the pandemic, podcasting had already been on a growth pattern, right? But social audio really just helped to fuel that fire, if you will. And then podcasting has just continued. And if we look at the trend to
Hmm.
2030, it's growing exponentially still. So we saw that as an opportunity because all three of us know that high trust relationships is the foundational business parameter to helping your business grow. Podcasting is a perfect fit for that because it's based on conversation, just like we're having
Hmm.
now. So
Yeah.
it made a lot of sense for us when we saw all these metrics, and that's why we came together. We purchased assets from someone else who was getting out of the industry to kick us
Hmm.
off. We had a couple of very successful events that really helped put us on the map, if you will, from our perspective, with
Hmm.
this new model. And really, that's what it was. It was all about. Is we saw a trend toward growth in podcasting. We saw that and married that with our beliefs and the fact that each of us individually had already been working with coaches and consultants to a successful level already.
Cool, cool. So take us through the journey of how somebody who reaches out to Cheryl and then say, "Oh, okay, I will hypothetically make an example of myself, right? I go and teach people how they can utilize AI to solve their business problems. This is my expertise, and I do like talks in universities. I do talks in corporates, but then I'm charging very low, like for each seminar or something. Let's say I charge around, I don't know, 300 pounds for a day. Yeah. How does my journey start with Icon Maker?
The journey starts with, well, I think the journey really starts with what is it that you desire to do. It always starts with intent, I
Hmm.
believe. You always need to get to what is it, the desire of where does that person want to go? Because the strategy of how you accomplish that will change depending on what it is you want to accomplish.
Hmm.
Sometimes from a podcasting perspective, we might talk to people who want to have a podcast as a hobby, just for fun.
Yeah.
Well, there are lots and lots of people who teach podcasting for hobby, and I might even be able to make recommendations of who to speak to for that. So that's not a fit for us. So we would have to look at, well, what's the intent behind it? Oh, you're looking to grow your business? Oh, okay,
Hmm.
great. And that's really where it starts. So I think in short that's what I would say is the conversation it starts with a conversation. I think anything in the high ticket world is something that starts with a conversation. And that conversation doesn't always have to start with a sales call. I think that's a misconception. People think, oh, sales call right out of the gate. Often not. Often it's just, let's just meet, let's just talk, let's get to know each other so that I
Hmm.
can figure out what it is that you're looking to build, looking to grow. What are your goals? What are you trying to accomplish so that I can provide any number of resources or ideas or advice to help that person accomplish it. And it might not be our program. And that's okay, right? Because I'm building goodwill. I'm helping someone along their journey anyway, regardless. I'm disconnected to the fact that it's leading to a sale.
Mm.
I'm not
Definitely.
concerned in that first initial conversation that I have with anyone that I meet, and I meet lots of people. I'm not even thinking about sales. I'm thinking about how can I help? How can I be of service to this person? And I think
Yeah.
that's gosh where it all begins.
Got it. Got it. And then once the conversation happens, and then you establish that, okay, now I think we can work with Ash or your ICP. What's the next step comes into the scene?
Okay, if at that point you have an offer that is validated. This is a big part of what we do is we help people validate their high ticket offers before they set out into the world to sell it
Hmm.
first and foremost. So let's presume we're at a place where we have an offer, we validated it, and we know that people need it, want it, and are willing to find that solution. The next
Hmm.
step, Ash, would be to say, hey, why don't I strategize with you on what could be a solution to your problem? And
Hmm.
again, this is now we're starting to get a little bit closer to sales, but we're still not quite there yet. A strategy session is exactly what I just described. It's strategizing with someone. It's more advice, but it's a little bit deeper. It's a more structured approach. And it's really
Hmm.
having conversation and asking some very strategic questions so that I can then ideate, so that I
Mm.
can come up with some thoughts and ideas on how to actually help them accomplish the goal.
Got it.
And that's really what the next step is. We're still not even at the sales part yet because we believe in screening and qualifying. Not every
Mm.
single person you do a strategy session with will you screen and qualify, and will they qualify for your program?
Mm.
And so it is what I love about this approach is that it's really a service first approach.
Mm.
Be of service to others, help other people. And you will find that through that process, naturally, you will find prospects. Naturally, you will find fits for your program.
Got it. Got it. So we had the conversation. I mentioned that I have an intent that I am currently charging £300 for one session. I would like to make it to, I don't know, £3,000, high ticket, right? Then the team from Icon Maker validated the high ticket offer. They figured out, oh, last year, 2023, 2024, most of the money made in consulting organizations was Deloitte PwC because they made 46% of their out of their whole revenue, which was towards AI solutions. So that validated the product market fit, something along the line, right? Then I had a one-to-one session with Shell. We defined a strategy, something around, let's say, creating your profile in a way that it, bumps out like an expert in UK, maybe in London, maybe not in London, part of London, south of London. And then based on that, you say, okay, now you can target the organizations which are looking for some, very AI expert consultant, very high ticket consultant who can help them out with their business improvement. Is it, am I talking on this right direction right now, or am I just blurred out totally?
Uh, we have our own approach, and it is not what you just described. But
Okay.
what we do is we have our own approach in terms of how to go about doing that.
Hmm.
Right. And so I don't want to lose sight of the fact that we have an actual process that we take people through. And in short, it's a five staged approach that we help people put their knowledge and wisdom into, and there's a structure to that.
Hmm.
But over the overarching thing that we're doing is we're saying, okay, what needs to happen is you take your wisdom and knowledge. And so in your example, something that someone was charging, they say $300 for, that might have been a coaching, a 1 hour coaching session, for example. Or sometimes what's common is an online course, which we know statistically very few people ever even open the videos, let alone get results from courses. People like to buy courses, but they rarely finish them. So if you are someone who is a coach or consultant whose main goal is to have an impact on other people through your work, courses sometimes can be a challenge because we know statistically most people don't finish them. They don't even
Mm.
open them. So that's difficult. So what you want to do is you want to say, okay, here's the thing I do. Here's my expertise. And you want to think about what is the benefit that people get from doing that. And it's married with, Ash, not just what is the benefit, but who is the right fit person who has that particular problem that I know I can solve and that I can solve well.
Mm.
In the high ticket world, though, it's looking at solving big problems, meaning you want to be thinking about what 6 figure or 7 figure or beyond, but let's call it 6 and 7 figure problems can I solve? So
Mm.
sometimes people who are selling an online course are solving a problem. And if people would go through their courses, it would solve that problem if they would take action. But that problem is, uh, it's not a 6 figure problem to solve. So, for example, how to bake a cake. Right? You can take a course on how to bake a chocolate cake, but baking a chocolate cake is not solving a 6 figure problem.
Indeed.
Now, if
Yeah.
you were teaching someone to create a business on how to bake a chocolate cake, and then you were helping them actually build a 6 or a 7 figure or 8 figure or a 10 figure business, and it's the business that would be built that would be selling chocolate cakes, for example. Now that's different. So
Mm.
it's not the chocolate cake, it's the business of selling
Business.
chocolate cakes. So it's sometimes it's that slight change, that nuance of here's the thing I do, and now I'm applying it to entrepreneurs or I'm applying it to business that can now turn what you were otherwise doing into a viable higher ticket program or offer. And it is often tied to, not always, but often tied to business and entrepreneurship.
Mm. Mm. Indeed. Indeed. And then at the final, once you have defined the strategy, once you figured out the perfect customers for your I'm calling them icons because you're making them
That's
icons,
what we
right?
call them. That's what we
um,
call them.
yeah, yeah. So what's the final step then? Do you define the funnels or sales strategies, or how does that work at the end of the process?
So our process is really about, let me talk about stage one because that's probably the easiest place to start logically. Stage one is going to be messaging. What is the message? We see this a lot where people are struggling because their message is not on point. The way that they're speaking about their area of expertise is misaligned to the people that they actually are wanting or should be wanting to attract into their business.
Mhm.
So they might be speaking to it in a way that is repelling the people that they would very much like to work with, and they do it without knowing any better. So
Mm.
if you are someone who's looking to attract, for example, if you are looking to attract people who are already in business and have, let's say they're established coaches, they've been in coaching for 5 years and they're sitting at the six-figure mark. If that's your irate fit client, then you ought not to be talking about them as, hey, isn't, starting your coaching program or starting your coaching business can be a struggle, isn't it? It's like, but the people that you're looking to attract they're not at the starting phase. They're 5 years in and they're already at six figures. They have different problems. Their
Mhm.
problems are growing and scaling and hiring team and all the challenges that come with that. It's not starting it off. So
Mm.
sometimes that's what we see because entrepreneurs, a lot of entrepreneurs and coaches are repeating and they're parroting other people's stuff online without giving thought to why they're saying what they're saying. They go, well, if it works for that guru, then I'll just imitate what they're doing. But they
Mm.
don't know the work and they don't know what went into that guru deciding to message their message that way. So
Mm.
that's the problem when you see people who are parroting or imitating other people online and not taking their own path and their own journey because they have no confidence, they don't know what they're doing, and they haven't sought out mentorship. They're going it alone. Literally going it alone can be really detrimental, and that's why a lot of people struggle for many years without being profitable, and that's why their cash flow is inconsistent.
Mm. Mm. Interesting. Cool. And because you mentioned about it, like people don't know what their messaging should be, and they most of the time they try to, I don't want to use the word copy, but like getting inspired by somebody who's in the same space and then, replicate the same process. How do you, what are the common misconceptions entrepreneurs have about like building a seven-figure business in this case, like, because I understand like starting a business and getting on that threshold is a different problem, but you're absolutely spot on that once you are there, your problem structure, level, scope, everything changes. What are these misconceptions these people have, who
Mhm.
and because of which they cannot grow further?
One of the biggest misconceptions that prevents people from getting to seven figures is they think that what got them to six figures will get them to seven.
Hmm.
We talk about this in our workshop. It's a problem because people think that they can just hustle their way as a solopreneur without help to seven figures. We don't believe that's true. We think
Hmm.
you can hustle your way to six figures with hard work, lots of hours, even if you weren't doing high ticket.
Hmm.
You could hustle your way to six figures. It's going to be a slog. It's going to be challenging. You'll be working long hours, but you could do it.
Hmm.
Okay. But what gets you to seven figures, if you want to go the easier path, you ought to be doing high ticket. And we believe people should be doing high ticket right from the start, by the way.
Okay.
But what gets you to six figures does not get you to seven. You should not be aiming to get to seven figures all by yourself. Now, I'm not suggesting that you need to have a big team, though. That's the beautiful
Hmm.
thing about coaching, consulting in a model that's leveraged like group one-on-one coaching in a group setting, which is what we believe in,
Hmm.
is leveraged activity. So you don't have to have a team of 10 employees and everything to get to seven figures, but you might need a VA. You might need an executive assistant. You might need a part-time person who can just take
Hmm.
the pressure off of you of doing all the operational things, especially as you go closer to that $1 million mark.
Hmm.
In the early stages, like say from let's say from 75,000 to, oh, I don't know, 250, 300,000. So we're in revenue and annual revenue, kind of that range. I think you can do it alone. I think it's
Hmm.
going to be, you know, you'll be working, but you could do it. I think beyond 300,000 and 500,000, 750 and onward to seven, you ought to be
Hmm.
getting at least a part-time person to be helping you.
Got it. Got it. I think most of the people I know who has already crossed around 150 threshold, at least in UK, they already employ more than 2, 3 contractors because it's too much.
Yeah.
Most of the people who have cross that threshold. And I'm not generalizing it, because I know that it's not true for everyone, but
That's
they
right.
have family, they have kids, they have other things, and then because of that their time is very limited, but they still want to keep rolling with the same flow, and that's why they want to get people, like
Yeah.
helping them
It
out.
varies.
Would you, yeah, it varies for different people. So can you share a compelling case study that highlights how Icon Maker has leveraged their strategies, and then help their customers to achieve their success and then solve their key business challenges? Potentially, I would like to hear about specific problems they were facing and the steps taken to implement the solution.
Yeah, I mean, I can give you a few examples. The one that comes to my mind, let's see. Let me see who comes to my mind first. We have a client who was had a lot have a has a fair amount of business experience, a lot of sales experience as well, was doing a
Hmm.
lot of high ticket sales, but not for necessarily for her own self. She was a
Hmm.
contractor for other people to do high ticket sales. So she kind of came in with that level of experience. She's one of
Hmm.
the people that really excelled in our program quickly because she was able to rely on that
Hmm.
level of experience that she had in working for others. And she was able to take her wisdom and knowledge and package it into a $25,000 program. Now, I don't remember off the top of my head what she was charging before, but I know it wasn't high ticket. And
Hmm.
so she was able to take what she does in a framework and put it into a $25,000 offer. And I think she's sitting at, I want to say 6 or 7 sales at this point,
Hmm.
and serving those people. So her program is really built around and includes some of her expertise around sales within the construct of her high ticket offer. She has structured that in such a way that she's helping other people solve big problems.
Hmm.
And in her case, she's helping people solve a six-figure problem, helping her clients to generate $250,000 of sales through her methodology, through
Hmm.
her 5 stages of progression to helping them accomplish it, right? So now there are other cases. So we have a client who, I guess, on the surface would be considered to be in the woo woo space, we'll call it the mindset space. But what he was able to do was to take the benefits of what he does and I think largely the speed of transformation that he provides people, and
Hmm.
turn that and put that and package it into a $100,000 offer. Now, Ash, keep in mind, when I talk about 100,000, 25,000, $10,000 offers, all of these offers in our world are risk reversed, meaning that the client isn't paying $100,000 up front. They're not paying $25,000 up front or $10,000 up front. They're paying a portion of that to start the program, and every other payment is linked to the results they get in that program.
Got it.
Okay.
Hmm.
So that's why it's, say, easier to enroll people into a program, because it's saying you don't pay us unless we help you actually get results, which is what they want in the program in the first place.
Yeah.
No one is
Yeah.
interested in buying, no one wants a $100,000 expense. But a
Mm.
lot of people are willing to say, "Hey, I'm interested in a $100,000 investment if it means that I can get my seven-figure problem solved and I can see a 10x ROI on this,
Mhm.
and you're willing to link payments to results. Where do I sign?" So this particular client was able to take what he does in the mindset space and attach it to business outcomes. Now all of a sudden he's charging, and I think he's at 9 sales. So he's done, let's say, 900,000 in sales. That's not cash collected, but that's deal
Mm.
flow, right? Like deals.
Mm.
So, and I mean, those are the two that kind of come to my mind, but we have had multiple clients who've done that. They've taken their expertise and packaged it in such a way that it's solving a 6 or 7 figure problem. And now
Mm.
they're able to make those deals and be able to have cash flow coming in, whether those are payments or people pay in full. There are lots of different ways that people find ways to do programs like this. But the benefit of it is that a client can come in and say, "Okay, I get it. There's some skin in the game. I have to pay to start this program. Otherwise, I'm not going to listen." But every other payment is linked to my results. Yeah,
Hmm.
I really want that. I really want to sign up for that.
And does your program also work in the similar manner, or is it just for your
Mhm.
customers only? Okay.
No, we
It
walk that talk. Yes, we definitely walk that talk.
okay, great. Um, I want to talk more about it, but before we go more further deeper into your offerings, I want to take a step back and learn more about you. What
Mhm.
inspired you to transition from a successful career in television to entrepreneurship? I know you mentioned that you're doing a lot of sales, but it has to be something more, right?
Oh, well, I mean, I think for me, I even since I was a teenager and in my 20s, and I've always loved putting other people on a pedestal. I've always loved teaching and mentoring other people, although I might not have recognized it as such at those ages.
Hmm.
But in
Hmm.
retrospect, I realized this was a pattern that had always been a through line in my life. I've always loved teaching and coaching and mentoring other people, which is probably why I've always found myself ascending to leadership positions in any role that I have taken on. Even in hospitality, even when I was waiting on tables, I was I was I was the dining room captain. When I
Hmm.
was at the broadcasting, when I was at the Weather Network, I became the news manager. Like I've always ascended to leadership roles,
Hmm.
and I think that that's part and parcel of it is just, I just enjoy doing that. So it wasn't until my 40s that I realized, "Oh, I think I'm a teacher. Oh, I think I'm a mentor. I think I'm a coach." I didn't really realize that's what I was.
Yeah.
And I think that just comes with age. I think it comes with experience where you start to go inside of yourself and try to your point earlier in the beginning of the show, why are we here? What is Cheryl all about? I think we're all on that journey of self-actualization and trying to figure out what is it all about. So
Yeah.
so for me, I think I've always known that. And why did I leave broadcasting? Because I had a nudge. I think it started for me in around 2013 or so. There were some
Hmm.
things that were happening in the social media space, in the digital space at that time that
Hmm.
were, say, signals for me that there might be something bigger out there for me. And that's really, it was just like an internal nudge. If anyone's ever had the nudge, you kind of know inside your heart. You might suppress it, you might be afraid of it, you might not want to action it, but the nudge never goes away.
It
For
doesn't.
me, it
Never
doesn't
does.
go away. It's just there because you're being called. You're being
Mm.
called to do the next thing. And it's
Mm.
scary. It took me 4 years, Ash. It took me 4 years from when the nudge started to me actually leaving broadcasting to start my own business. And was I scared? Yes. Did I know what I was doing? No. Did I make mistakes? Yes. 100%, but I did it anyway and still on the path. And so I think, that's for me, that was what the journey was. It was a nudge. It's not that I didn't love my career, absolutely loved what I did. I loved the people I worked with and I loved so many different aspects of it, but I don't think you can deny when the nudge is there.
Got it. Got it. And moving forward from there, we have talked about what inspired you. We have talked about some case studies. What, how do you stay motivated and overcome challenges in your business journey? Because that's something which I asked to a lot of coaches. Keeping consistency is by far the best thing in any business, right? You have to be consistent, but in order to be consistent you have to be motivated. How do you manage that? How do you stay motivated?
I think I think when I see a client have an epiphany,
Hmm.
when I see a client have an aha moment, when a client breaks down one week and comes back the next ripping and roaring and really just like on a different path. And maybe I had a small part in that in some way, shape, or form. It could have been through a word of advice. It could have been a word of encouragement. It could have been crying with them, Ash. Like sometimes, like I have done that. It's emotional. the journey for people, this, we're talking about people's lives here. We're talking about their families and their lives. It gets emotional sometimes. And I'm not one who can often hide those emotions. Like, I just think I'm an emotion. Like, I kind of can go there with people. So I think for me, what keeps me going and motivated are those moments where someone has that transformation or that epiphany in small steps, in small doses. And maybe they don't even realize that they're going through it, but I can see it. I can see their growth. I can see them turning into who they need to be in order to become that seven-figure business owner. Even though they might not know it, sometimes they don't believe it, but
Mm-hmm.
I believe in it for them because I can see it through them.
Mm.
That's what motivates me because I know what that means on the back end of that. If I can help them have incremental, uh, steps along the way of improvements or epiphanies or success, etc., that's going to have an impact on not only themselves but their families, their life. And so I think that's probably really what motivates me, and it doesn't come without its challenges. It definitely doesn't come without its challenges. We have
Mhm.
people, sometimes it's dicey. People don't believe in themselves. People give up on themselves. And I can only create the container for their success. I cannot be responsible for their success. While we do link payments to results, I can't force someone to come to the call. I can do everything I can to encourage them to come, but they have to make that choice. So I
Mm.
cannot be responsible for it. This is something I actually learned from one of our clients. I can't be responsible for it, but I can create the container to the very best of my ability for their success. And when I see someone succeeding, I think that's really what motivates me to keep going through the ups and the downs.
Nice, nice. I mean, you wouldn't imagine. I speak with a lot of people, and some people are like, "Oh, money keeps me motivated because I make money out of these businesses, and then
Not
that's it."
me.
And I was
No.
like, "Okay, I hear you," because some people have that kind of motivation. We can't
Sure, of
just
course. Yeah.
judge them on that. But yeah, that's something which I've heard. So what's one actionable step our listeners can take today to start their journey towards the high ticket sales? What would be your advice?
The biggest thing I think would be to say, really take a look at, what are you great at? What is your area of expertise? What is the thing that
Mhm.
you do better than most people? And then, and you might be able to do this alone, or you might need help in figuring this out. How can I take that and solve a big problem with it? What is the
Mm,
big problem that I could use this expertise to solve? That's the key thing. Now, I'm not suggesting that's easy. Sometimes people need help with that. They need to talk to someone to help figure that part out, but I think that's ultimately the step.
mm,
It's what I don't love seeing, and this is something I do when I'm talking to people, is I talk to so many people, but I'll find out what they're great at, or I'll ask them, what is your area of expertise? And they'll tell me, oh, it's this or it's that. But then through conversation, by going a little deeper, I find out, oh, wait a minute, isn't that your expertise? Oh yeah, no, that's just the thing I do.
mm,
Okay, wait a minute. Seems to me that that might be your area of expertise. You think it's
mm,
this, but it's actually that. And that happens a lot. People don't realize what their area of expertise truly is. They
mm,
think it's one thing, but it's another. And so if they can take a step back and recognize that, oh, that thing I took for granted of myself is actually more valuable and can actually be used in a different way to solve a bigger problem. That's often the work that I do.
Interesting, interesting. Because a lot of time we don't know what people are looking for, what could solve their bigger problems. We just thought that it's something small because we know it very well, which is our expertise, right? So it
Right.
doesn't make much difference.
Well, let me give
Cool.
you an
So
example. Let me give
yeah.
you an example. Speaking with someone who said, when I asked, what is your area of expertise? Is like, they said, well, my area of expertise is helping people with mindset. I help people with their mindset. I go, oh, well, that's interesting. So tell me more about that. And so they'll tell me and they'll say, and then we'll find out as I go deeper that they actually have 30 years of sales experience.
Mm.
And I'll say, oh, it's so interesting. You never mentioned until I asked you, and we dug deeper. You 30 years of sales experience. So why are you not leading with that as your area of expertise? Because they just want to do mindset. It's like,
Mm.
okay, but people don't want mindset. They want what mindset gets them on the other side of having a good mindset. It's like, what if you married your sales experience and help people and merge that with the mindset, right? For actually accomplishing a bigger result and helping people solve bigger problems.
Mm.
And so all of a sudden, it's like the pieces of the puzzle start coming together.
Got it. Got it. Yeah. Yeah, and I can see that I'm sure that at least 50% of people are confused on what they should be offering who comes to you, right? So
At least
at least
more
I'm
more than
guessing, yeah.
that. Yes. Way more than
Great,
that.
great stuff. Cool. So before moving to our lightning round, then I do it with all of my um, guests on the show. We go
Okay.
through everything what we have discussed today, what we have learned, and then obviously you can provide us some more feedback on us. So you started your journey when you were young, 18 years old. You got into media, and then when you were working through that, you figured out that you had these traits of leadership, teaching, and mentoring that was pushing you up all the way towards all the promotions, success in your life. And then you jumped into a bigger media house where you were, looking after a big team of, I think, 17 plus team members, I guess.
17. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And you're working with them, and by the time around 2015 you started getting some signals from the universe that there is something more which you could add value to it. And then that's when you made a decision around 2017, if I'm not wrong.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where the icon maker with your partner started, right? That's where you started focusing on podcast, media, radio, sort of all kind of media spaces. And
We
then,
started to do that in 2023, just last year.
ah, okay, 2023, great stuff. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna put it right here,
Yep. That's
2023.
great.
There you go,
Love it.
little work.
I love this.
And and then you realize that there's a huge indication from the market trend that there by the end of 2030 it will jump on quite a big chunk of market share when it comes to podcasting, right? So that's what keeps you motivated in terms of speaking with your customer, that whenever you try to solve their problems, and then when they realize, okay, this I had no idea, and suddenly I got this aha moment of life, which keeps you guys from icon maker perspective motivated. A couple of things which I've also noted today is around the multiple steps. I might be wrong here. I might have missed a few of them. So the first step, you start with the conversation. You figure out the intent of your ICP. You try to validate their high ticket offer. Some, I'm guessing, let's say 50% of the time their offers are not even validated for high ticket value. So that is a very crucial step. Moving forward from there, you define the strategy. You figure out what sort of ways you could help them in order to get their business from 6 to 7 figure. And then at the end, you work on the sales, which includes multiple 5-step process, whereas one of them was messaging, I guess, what we discussed. So I think that's what all we discussed today. Is there anything else you would like to add into this for our listeners?
Very good, Ash. I mean, I love that you took what I said and put it into a visual format. And, you know, when I look at that map, I think within the white spaces of your mind map here, or of
Mhm.
your drawing, there are so many details, right? There are so many other nooks and crannies to get to within the white space. And I think that's where the true transformation happens, right? It happens in those white spaces, in the
Mhm.
detail, in the nuance, in the overcoming your own, say, disbelief of your ability, right? Like that's the benefit I think of mentorship as a whole, is not
Mhm.
going it alone and knowing that you can join forces with someone who's just as invested as you are in your success, especially in a model like ours. So I
Got it.
appreciate this, and this has been great. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Perfect. Great. So let's move on to our lightning round. I've
Okay.
got six quick fire questions for you.
Okay.
So you can answer them as quickly as possible. You ready?
Okay. I'm ready.
Great. What's the top three strategies to generate leads in 2024?
Patrons, partners, and platforms. So we use podcasting to do that, but it's through connecting with patrons, or prospects, would call them, uh, other platforms to speak on, and partnerships with others.
Got it. What book would you recommend to our audience and why?
The One Thing by Jay Papasan and Gary Keller. I think
Mhm.
it helps to focus on the fact that if you focus on one thing, you'll have success faster.
Got it. I think I haven't read it. I might be adding that into my reading list. So thanks for that. What's one attribute or characteristic in your mind of a successful founder?
Perseverance,
Mm.
perseverance through the ups and the downs.
Yeah, yeah, totally. What's your favorite personal productivity tool or habit?
Mind mapping, just like you were. I love mind mapping. I've become a big fan of it since my
Mhm,
partner introduced me to it. I think mind
mhm.
mapping helps to take the thoughts in your head and see the visualization of that.
Definitely, definitely. I do it all the time. So yeah, couldn't agree more with that. What's a new or a crazy business idea you would love to pursue if you had time?
Well, just like you, I'm really interested in AI and finding ways to leverage that more. And so, crazy idea would be to build an AI tool that could help people um, grow their businesses. I haven't, obviously, it's just a thought, but something around AI. Definitely
Mhm,
something around AI as a tool, or some type of MRR, monthly recurring revenue model, with AI. And with the tools that are available today, that's really not that difficult to do in this day and age. So that may be
mhm.
something to pursue at some point.
Perfect. And last but not least, what's an interesting or fun fact about you that most people don't know?
Um, je parle français couramment. Je viens de Timmins, Ontario, Canada. Alors, toute ma parenté sur le côté de mon père parle français.
You speak French.
I do.
That was so awesome. I never speak with anybody who can speak in French. So, yeah, thanks for that anecdote. Yeah, that was
De,
lovely.
de rien, de rien, de rien.
Shirley, thank you so much for joining me and sharing your story, unpacking last years of building this business and some of the ups and downs. If people want to check out or they want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do it?
Best way is on LinkedIn. I'm definitely active on LinkedIn. You can send me a connection request there and we can have a conversation. I'm on Facebook as well. Facebook is a great place. And you can go to iconmakerlive.com to learn about our next workshop.
Awesome. Cheryl, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your inspiring journey and the impactful work you're doing through Icon Maker. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on Founders Podcast.
Thank you so much, Ash. This has been an enlightening and very original conversation. I just want to commend you on how you conduct your show. It's really wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you all for tuning in to this episode of Founders Podcast. I hope you found our conversation with Cheryl insightful and inspiring. Make sure you go on iconmakerlive.com to check out their next event and subscribe and connect with Cheryl on LinkedIn. I'm sure she will be happy to respond back to you. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe to our podcast and stay updated on our future interviews with proven founders and industry experts. Stay inspired, stay motivated, and keep building.